Welcome everybody. I guess it's the Cat and the Matt show because this was Luca's idea, but welcome, Cat. He's not here.
Hey everybody, I'm Luca. No, I'm not. Yeah, the dude was like, "Hey, you guys want to do a stream?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure. What time?" He's like, "What about this time?" Like, "Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can make it work." And then here we are, just the two of us.
Yeah. So it's gonna be welcome to the bull train. All aboard. Choo choo choo. That should be the new title of this post or this broadcast, whatever you want to call it.
I suppose so. Well, I mean, I think you got your chart here. We do a short show. We just do a 15-minute show in tracker time, and
So 6 hours? No.
5 minute show. That's like 5 minute show. That's like an hour. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh
right.
boy.
And yeah, let's just get started. We'll just talk about some usual stuff that we always start off with, and that'll be IWM. And it's kind of our indicator of how we kind of see risk on assets, not only in the stock market, but also crypto as well. And the chart that I have pulled up is my linear scale again here. And what I want to point out is price is really finding stability on top of this arc, which was a previous resistance flipping to a support. And this is also pretty close to where everything was in 2021, basically the whole time, right? Even if you don't use this little like last liquidity grab up, you can use like the previous candles here. It's basically just retesting all of these wicks down here and flipping it to support. You don't even need any other TA. You can just literally see that. We are on top of 2021 levels, which is bullish for risk on, bullish for small caps. And I think eventually it should be bullish for crypto, for altcoins. But so far it's not. They want to punish people the most to make them the most scared. And I think eventually it will. I think they will sync up soon, but it's not until maybe it wants to go to all-time highs. And when is that going to happen? Nobody knows. But I think some of the max pain scenarios are getting factored in right now, in my opinion. I think we're seeing something that we could start building a nice foundation here before continuing the journey higher. And I do see the 280s for IWM in the future. I see 289, 290. I see that green GAN level up here coming soon. How soon, though? Maybe sometime in 2026, or perhaps things could even get started sooner in December. I mean, maybe we could have a Santa rally instead of what Tracker says, a Satan really. Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think we need to start to see some kind of liquidity come into crypto soon, or else it could be under pressure longer. What do you say, Kat?
I can't believe you were just bullish on crypto. That's like so damaging to your brand. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like, it's liquidity play. I think if a lot of people forget about how bad it was back in April for stocks, and it's not just for small cap, not just for IWM, not just for miners, but you're talking about things are pretty bad for Nvidia. A lot of people forget about how bad Nvidia was when it went all the way down to the 80s. It was a flash crash. And here we are. It looks like IWM is holding pretty decent. Like if you don't believe in the GAN, that's okay. Like nobody has to believe in anything. If you don't believe in technical analysis, I don't know why you're even watching this. But yeah, but if you're believing in if things are holding at higher fit levels, such as what IWM is doing right now, is holding the 0.86 here pretty decently from the previous cycle high to the cycle low over here. Last time we had a little bit of a potential breakout that failed, big liquidity grab, huge deleveraging happened. This was the move that really was making us look really kind of dumb, because all flash crashes are meant to look dumb and meant to scare you. And when you have flash crashes like the one that you just had earlier in the year, and when everybody is thrown off sides, when no level was holding, that was probably one of those better opportunities to buy. And when we all look like fools and saying, oh, it's hitting the 0.5, it's going to hold, but nope, ended up having a big giant crash all the way down to 0.236, and all just ended up just being a big giant wick, down here below, and then it's just boom, 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 boom. Next thing you know, recover within half a year, and we're trying to break that level again. Everybody's getting a little bit, more bullish now. But a lot of people that were very, very bearish on a lot of things like miners, like Cypher that went down to like $3, Iron that went down to like 6 or something like that down here. Everybody was really discouraged, and everybody was kind of rotating into Bitcoin. What was Bitcoin doing at that time? Let's see what Bitcoin was doing at that time, shall we? Bitcoin was holding extremely well back in April. I mean, in fact, it kind of dropped back in February, and it was holding extremely well. It was actually green in April, and everybody's just kind of caught off sides here, and they're thinking, oh, you know what, relative strength, right? What was holding extremely well back in April? MSTR. What was the narrative? A lot of big accounts were saying that, hey, we should not be in all these like small cap stocks and whatnot. Just go to Bitcoin, go to Bitcoin stuff. Like MSTR. What was the other one that people got really excited about? This MetaPlanet thing, right? What happened with MetaPlanet? It went really great, right? Back in April, it was holding pretty well. May, June, everybody was confirming their thesis. This thing's going to go to the moon, and got everybody really excited up here. Next thing you know, just 5 months all the way down, right? So people are getting thrown off sides here, but this time, even though Bitcoin is looking pretty bad right now, and we also had a very bad event that just happened with the altcoin market, everything. I think it was holding extremely well, right? Even you look at the weekly, you can see that it's just holding levels very, very beautifully. It's even just holding some simple moving average like the 20 perfectly fine. On top of 0.886, you look at the daily, there's even like some buy order blocks up here right around where price is at. And you also look at Mat scan level. Everything looks pretty decent here for like the stock market, actually. I don't say the same thing is happening with the large caps too. Like even if you're looking at the ratio of QQQ over SPY, we are having a little bit of a correction, but the Bollinger is expanding. Looks like QQQ wants to probably continue to outperform SPY, but we have a big correction so far on this month. But overall, the trend seems to be still on the upside, right? If you worry about the stock market, why is SoFi still holding pretty well? Higher highs and higher lows, barely got hit, right? Affirm's even like this is like a trash stock supposedly because they're all buy now pay later kind of thing. Yeah, you got a little bit of a downtrend, but it's on low volume, and overall it's higher highs and higher lows. Like this thing still looks pretty decent. Shopify got pretty close to previous all-time high here. It looks like it was about to break out. It just hasn't yet. Well, guess what? It's still holding 0.86 just fine. So all these signs are not pointing to that there's anything necessarily troublesome for the economy. But people get extremely scared because when they see Bitcoin not doing well, they automatically think that there's something wrong with the economy because they associate automatically that Bitcoin equals global liquidity. Bitcoin equals what the overall market's going to do. And also this is happening right around the 4-year cycle mark. So everybody's all really scared. That's kind of where we're at right now. So am I scared? Well, maybe, but if I look at Bitcoin alone, it's still trying to hold on to the 20-month moving average to close the month. And this actually looks very, very similar to what NVIDIA did. Let's see. This looks very, very similar to what NVIDIA did, actually, right? If you put up the monthly Bollinger Band here, if I get rid of all these labels, you can see kind of what it did here before. It just touched the 20. It was extremely scary at that time because if it breaks the 20, then you're going down to lower Bollinger Band, right? Or close to it. This is what happened last time. This is what happened the time before that. So that was a very, very scary time. It ended up just holding that level just fine. And then Bitcoin right now looks like we might be at risk of breaking down, but it's still relatively holding. We will see. We are at an important juncture, and we are trying to figure out whether or not the bull market would continue versus the whole thing just going to plummet all the way down. But so far, there is not really any like validation or any validation. It's just it's. And we're still waiting for things to kind of play out. If you're also looking at the moving averages on the weekly too, is holding the 100 here. It did break down underneath the 50. Everybody's all scared about the 50 being broken down because that's what happened last time. If you broke down the 50, then that's it, right? You're screwed. Well, you end up back testing the 20 and the 50 here. You fail to hold. That's when you get screwed. But right now, we fell to 100. Looks like we got a decent reaction here so far. I do think we're a little bit too far away from the mean. We probably end up getting a little bit of retracement back to the mean here soon. And if we end up getting rejected there, then so be it, But NVIDIA, I keep pointing to NVIDIA. Why am I keep pointing to NVIDIA? The reason why I point to NVIDIA is it did the same thing. It broke down underneath the 50, went to 100, and then as it went back to try to back test it, it pushed through it just fine. So there is some, live here. I think liquidity conditions are still there. I'm not necessarily sure that this is really the start of the bear market until we see the reaction when Bitcoin goes back to the area to back test. That's kind of what my thinking is. I think we are going to have a back test up there eventually, right around the zone over here. And how it reacts probably would dictate the market. The fact that it's like flash crashing like this does make me feel a little bit better about it. Even here, back then, you do have a little bit of a relief here, but here it's just a straight flash crash all the way down to the 100-week moving average. So we'll see how it reacts, man. I don't know. It's interesting time, Matt. Is Luca here? No, he's still not here.
No, yeah, he maybe fell asleep or forgot, or
yeah, that's all right.
Who knows?
It happens. Go for it.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah. So on my Bitcoin chart here, I'm pulling the fibs from 2024 March to the August carry trade bottom right down there. And these are interesting fibs to me because the 2.272 here on log scale was the recent top, right? And it tried to break above 1 week, but it was just a fake out. So what did price do? If it can't break resistance, it goes back and retests support. And we saw it just went straight down to the 82,000, which also really coincides with the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud right there. So this, in my opinion, I think needs to be the bottom. Otherwise, it's going back down to the March 2024 top, right? It's going back down to 72,000, or even probably getting liquidity below it to that infamous 69,000 level, right? But we're not going to talk about that unless these levels break. So I'm all about one level at a time on the way up, and I'm about one level at a time on the way down. So we're at a point now where this week there's 4 hours, 41 minutes left until the weekly candle closes. And we could even close above this 87,003, right? The 1.414, which was actually the breakdown point back in March of 2025. And then it got that liquidity below. So actually stabilizing above that, in my opinion, would be healthy to go back up to this 94,357. So we do see that it's basically this 94,000, super important support back in 2024 and early 2025 that was lost, reclaimed, and now it broke. So if we're going to get more bullish in my eyes, it's got to start getting above this 94,357. So in essence, we're really just in a range right now between the 94 and the low 80s right there. And this could spend some time consolidating until it's ready to break back above. Kind of like how it did back in March, April, that time, right? This spent almost a couple of months underneath this 94,000, just regaining its footing, and then it went higher. So until it breaks back above this 94,357, I'm not convinced it wants to continue to break out just yet. But we want to see stability. We don't want to see it break below the cloud. We don't want to see it break below the 82,000 because that would lead to lower levels. What else is around this 94,000 level? Well, if you go to the Bollinger Band on the weekly chart, it's basically the lower band, right? The lower band's at 95,296 currently. And it's super extended to the downside right now. We haven't really seen this in a very long time. The last time we kind of saw it was maybe in the carry trade last time, but it regained it, right? During this week, it closed back above it. This time, we're not going to close back above it, and we're still pretty extended to the downside. We haven't really seen a weekly candle close this far outside of the lower Bollinger Band basically ever, really, going back in time. Yeah, even during COVID, it didn't really close that far outside of it, right? It was at one point way below it, even worse than now, but it didn't close that far down below it. Maybe during this time, during 2018, yeah, that closed pretty far outside the Bollinger Band, like from 4,700, and it closed down at 39. That was pretty far. But this is a rare scenario, in my opinion. So I think a mean reversion is likely, at least back up to this 94. But we got to see how price, or 95, we got to see how price reacts once it gets there. And once it gets there, then we'll see how it behaves. But ultimately, I like these fibs, and I think they are telling a good story. And staying above 87,000 would be good for the rest of this week and next week. But until it breaks above this 94, 95,000 barrier, I think we could be stuck for some time before going higher. So it's just going to be a battle in my eyes, and it's going to make a lot of people think it's going to just crash and go a lot lower. But I think we just have to play it level by level as usual. And so far, it's a higher low from before. And so far, the market structure is higher highs and higher lows. It's still a bullish market structure. There was a very positive reaction off of that weekly cloud, the bottom of it so far. So am I going to be nervous right now? No, I'm just going to take it one step at a time and just watch what the levels are doing. Also, when you come to the others dominance, right? A lot of people are looking at others dominance, and one thing is happening right now is actually the conversion of the baseline. They're really trying to stay above it, right? This is a good kind of a trend reversal for getting more and more bullish for the dominance of others. And I think we can look at that and say, okay, maybe it wants to get closer to this 8% zone, and maybe it wants to try to get into the cloud and become more bullish. And also just taking off that Ichimoku cloud, so we can see that the dominance for altcoins, this 236 fib has actually been kind of a zone for a bottoming process before in the history. Like in 2019, it was kind of a bottom before it went higher, one last lower low. But then in 2020, it was the bottom right before the launch. So we are back at that exact zone. So maybe if Bitcoin does struggle a little bit here, perhaps it's going to lead to the altcoins performing better and better over time, which has historically been the case, especially at this 6% dominance zone, right? That was literally the bottom back before the huge 2021 rally for the altcoins. So we are there now. This would be the point for the liquidity to flow into altcoins, and maybe that's why we're seeing the outflow of Bitcoin right now to prepare for the inflow of all of these altcoins that everybody hates so much. Kat, anything to add?
Oh, you still saying that altcoin season is coming? No,
well, this chart, the dominance chart, does show this 6.5% zone. It has been a bottom before, so we're there now. Yeah,
it's not a popular thing to say for sure. I think that is, if there's like an opposite to an overcrowded trade, this would be it. Like it's dead. Like nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
so
we've seen this historically, like one last lower low and then go. Like we saw that right in 2018, there was one last lower low and then go, and then we saw it right here, one last lower low, even that huge October 10th flush and go. And we're seeing that with individual altcoins as well, like with Fetch, one last lower low and go, right? There's just so much confluence out there that I think this could be the bottom, if not close to it. So I hate doing bottom calls because that MSTR bottom call just backfired in my face, right? So don't want to really do that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty vicious downtrend. I mean, yeah, if you want to flip over to me, I can talk a little bit more and take it off your plate there, because I'm sure you're feeling the heat right now. No, it's
hey, I can take it.
I know you can, but like people anyway. Like, yeah, let's not give examples. But this is the Nikkei, the Japanese market. A lot of people are talking about the yen carry trade again. Honestly, it's I don't know if it's necessarily relevant. I think the market just tend to go higher over time if it's something that is not crap. I don't think the Japanese market is crap because over the last couple of decades, it's been making higher highs and higher lows, right? Well, guess what happens sometimes when you want to make a higher high? Well, sometimes you capitulate through time. Here, how brutal it was to be in the Japanese market for like 2 years doing nothing, right? Well, you needed the capitulation through time for you to go make these highs over here. This time, we did not really wait for that long. We only gone sideways for about like a year, 15 months. But guess what? You have all these capitulation events, right? All these deleveraging events that happen with these beautiful dragonfly candles, and it just went way up, right? Now people are talking about how scary the Japanese market is again. Why? It was just way outside the upper Bollinger Band. It's now just touching up a bullish trend. This is a very, very bullish trend, right? It could use some cool down before going up higher, but this is bullish. So there is, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of liquidity still in the system that still haven't really rotated into some of the other, stuff that hasn't really ran yet. Usually, the Nikkei goes hand in hand with Bitcoin, and this is a very unusual 6 month period where there's a lot of liquidity being trapped in the Japanese market, and it just simply hasn't really been rotating over. Same thing here. This is the Chinese market represented by the Hang Seng Index. You can see how it's got like 5 straight months of green. Bitcoin did nothing during this period of time. And now you have a little bit of correction, it sneezes and Bitcoin just got dumps like, 30, 40%. Well, because I don't think Bitcoin's really truly hit that deleveraging thing. I think people were still fixated back in April that, hey, Bitcoin's going to hold well. It's a source of wealth, it's a sign of liquidity, a sign of strength. And I think everybody's just kind of getting destroyed based on those narratives. And market is very, very good about throwing you off, off sides, right? If you're looking at the total 3 here, which is the total cryptocurrency market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, you just simply pull the Bollinger Band here. You can see how it's still holding the 20-month moving average here just fine. It looks like it's one of those things that is still a bullish formation, right? A cup over here, a small cup over here, and maybe is even forming even the smaller cups are bullish formations. And it's still tagging the 20-month moving average. So I can't really say it. I mean, obviously, the more you tag, you can say the more attack, the weaker it gets. But the truth is, you are also having a lot of knocks up here too against this resistance here for a very long time, for the entire year. And if we're not able to break through, we have to come back and back test some things. The range at the lower part is getting smaller. The range on the upper part has stayed the same. I think there's a lot of supply above that's being taken off, and I think that the demand is increasing, even though you have a lot of crazy, flushes here and there. Now, if you say, okay, so you're looking at stable coins too, right? Not necessarily. I mean, the market cap, I can look at, okay, so I can look at without stable coins. This is total 3 ES. Fine, it's broken down underneath the 20-month moving average. We're dead, right? Well, it's still holding levels just fine. It's still holding the Ichimoku just fine. It's still, forming higher lows over here compared to over there. It's still hitting the same resistance levels up above, right? You're still having increasing demand. You're still having the same level of supply. In general, what do you think happens after it done this kind of ascending triangle type, consolidation? Generally, things tend to break to the above. It just hasn't been doing that, and I think it's hard to to see the possibility of that, happening because it just hasn't done it. I don't know what else to say. We can talk a little bit about Ethereum. I'm sure people are very interested about Ethereum here. If obviously this downtrend has been extremely vicious, obviously because we've already been through a huge deleveraging event all the way to April. This move over here was not absolutely necessary, but it happened anyway. I guess there's just a lot of leverage here. I guess this whole big move up there was just getting a lot of people really psyched, including myself. And this downturn over here in November was really vicious. Right? Overall, what can I say? All I can say is this is a higher high over here. And so far, we're trying to form a higher low, right? Compared to that. That's all I can really say. I mean, I can look at the 20-month moving average so far is below that. I can look at the monthly Ichimoku. We haven't touched that yet, but it's below the tank in the kitchen or the conversion of baseline there. But just like looking at the Ichimoku cloud here on the weekly, it basically has tagged the Ichimoku cloud here very beautifully. It's also backtested this horizontal zone resistance over here, and now it's serving as support. Right? It's just been so vicious. So maybe we do have either some technical damage that needs time to repair, or this whole thing right here is just a liquidation cascade, and we might end up having a little bit of a V-shaped recovery, kind of like we did over here, because things were just so vicious and none of the levels were holding. Usually, to me, I feel that that's not a very healthy downtrend, and this also doesn't really feel like a very healthy downtrend. So yeah, we're finding support here finally. We'll see whether or not that holds. But so far, I still think this is a higher low. And this whole thing right here is a liquidation cascade to try to get liquidity from the system so things would go up higher. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. But yeah, unfortunately, if you don't have Ethereum doing well, I don't expect all coins to do well at this time. Like usually you need to have Ethereum to at least have some stabilization before they can really run up. So yeah, I mean, altcoins are bleeding, sure, but they're actually holding considerably well, considering what I'm seeing here with what Bitcoin is doing. A lot of people are worried about Bitcoin crashing and that altcoins are going to bleed a lot more. They have been bleeding, but they haven't really been bleeding as terribly as one would suspect, I guess. Looking at the Bitcoin dominance, I really do think that the Bitcoin dominance is hitting a very, very toppy area here. You have two monthly candles at these big giant wicks above, getting rejected here. If you look at from this top here to this bottom here, the 0.707 is basically getting rejected here, right? If you look at this top over here wait a minute, this is in log. I need to use regular. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. If you look at the top over here, you can see that basically the 0.618 is being rejected over here, right? That's a big level. If you are looking at the top over here, 0.76 over here is getting rejected here with these big giant wicks up here. That's a pretty important level. If you can't break back above the 0.76 with these big giant wicks like that, it's going to go down. The Bitcoin dominance is going to go down. I don't really see any other way for this to work. If you look at the weekly, there's also a couple other things to suggest that Bitcoin dominance is going down. Well, it fell into the Ichimoku cloud here with some last tries to try to break above, got rejected here by all of these different levels here, and now it couldn't break through, and now it's breaking down underneath the cloud here. This is weak. This is a sign for weakness. You look at different moving averages. The 20 is quickly negatively slapping Bitcoin dominance downwards, and it's going to have a hard time really trying to break above. You have 50-week moving average. Initially, it was a bull trend on the way up, serving as support here. Here, it broke down underneath the 50, and it got rejected once and twice with these big, giant, nasty wicks. It's going to serve as resistance up here too. I don't think Bitcoin dominance is going to push back up. This is extreme weakness here. Even the 100-week moving average here is serving as support over here, but it's becoming more flat. It's probably going to go down there. It's probably going to serve as support, maybe range bound here a little bit, and then it's probably going to go down. This is a trend change that I haven't really seen for a very long time. This is a trend change I haven't really seen since like over in 2020, 2023. So as far as I'm concerned, Bitcoin dominance is going down. What that means would be a lot of people would say, oh, Bitcoin dominance is going down. It's just because people are moving from Bitcoin to stables. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to altcoins. I would say that yes and no, because if you're looking at if you look at dominance of USDT plus USDC, which is basically the two big giant, big giant stable coins here, they are having a breakout. They are looking good, and they are looking like they want to maybe potentially go higher because they are looking like they're breaking levels and want to kind of push higher from here. But remember the last time when the bull market for altcoins and for Ethereum, when was that? It was really around 2020 all the way into 2021, and during this period of time, dominance of stables actually was up, especially during that time when Bitcoin was not doing very well back in April 2021. You actually, you do have increase in stables, but overall the trend is still higher highs and higher lows during the entire crypto bull market around 2020, 2021. So just because you have a bull trend building up here for stablecoin dominance doesn't necessarily mean that we're entering bear market and everybody's just going to stables. Matter of fact, I think there might be more utility and more stability with stablecoins, and if that's the case, what you need to make stablecoins and make stablecoins work is Ethereum. So I actually don't necessarily see that increasing in the stablecoin dominance is necessarily a bad thing. During a bear market, yeah, I mean, like you can go all the way up, right? But even during a bull market, you can make higher highs and higher lows, and that doesn't really bother me. So
couldn't it also mean like fiat people are getting out of the fiat and they're just putting it in the stables for more utility later? And like, isn't that more of a bullish scenario for crypto in itself? Like, get out of the fiat system into the stablecoin system for that ecosystem to keep growing and growing. So don't we really want more money to come out of like everything else and go into the crypto assets, even if it's in stable coins first?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, like if you look at the USDT market cap, actually, it's not that big, and it goes up over time anyway. Like it doesn't really matter. It just goes up over time anyway, and it's not that huge. If you look at the USDC, it's also going to go up over time anyway, even during the bull market. Like, it doesn't really mean anything in isolation. If you're looking at USDC currently is only maybe like 2.5% of the entire market cap. Look at the USDT currently is only like maybe 6.25% of the entire market cap. So I think it's fine for them to grow. I think it's okay, but to kind of rotate out of Bitcoin into other assets, even including stablecoins where there's more utility, I actually would argue that it's healthy for the cryptocurrency market overall. But that's just kind of my own thought. So yeah. Well, I just kind of ramble on a lot. So any other thoughts you got there?
Yeah, like I got a total 3 ES chart that I want to show too, and a lot of people hate total and total one or total two, total three simply because it includes stable coins. But that's why they created the ES, right? Excluding stable coins, that's what it means. And a lot of people don't like charting on linear scale either when it comes to crypto, but I do all the time because you can actually see important levels all the time. And you can see from the 2017 top and the 2020 bottom right here, it looks like nothing happened back there because linear scale really just shows the true growth of everything, right? This was COVID, like right here. Like, it looks so tiny and not even important anymore, but it was right here. And we can see what was the top recently, and it was this 2.618. It was the basically 900 billion. It could not break above it. And the last time it really tried was during October, and it really just kept wicking above it and never could. So if it can't break resistance, it goes back and retests support. And what do we have? The 1.618. And it actually did find stability there for this week. And it is still higher lows, right? There's a lot of fear out there, but when you're excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the stable coins, this is the altcoins right here. This is your Doge, your XRP, or your Solana, whatever. This is all including like all these altcoins here, and it's showing stability and it's not breaking lower. It's higher lows. This is a bullish structure of the market. By definition, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. We are just not making higher highs yet, so it's a matter of patience. But I'm watching this 563.87 billion for today's weekly candle close, and so far it's healthily above it. And this was also a major resistance zone in May of 2024 that is being back tested over and over and over again. So in my eyes, this is just more confluence that it's a waiting game. It's not something that we should fear that crypto is going to zero, right? If crypto is going to zero, it would be making lower lows all the time. It would be flipping more and more support to a resistance, but it's not. It's just not able to break resistance. That's not a bearish thing. That just means it's not ready yet. It just keeps on trying, and maybe one day it will, but just needs more liquidity lower first. Get people to deleverage, capitulate, whatever, until ready to go higher. Another thing I want to look at too is the others chart over Bitcoin, right? I want to show this chart too, because what I see here on log scale is something similar to that others chart that I've shown you just by itself, where it's trying to break an arc, right? And this others over Bitcoin has been really trying to stay above this top arc over and over again, but it didn't. But in actuality, what happened with that 1010 crash is it went right back down to that blue level, just like it did for COVID, right? So we actually did do a double bottom for the others market cap already. So it's not really necessary to go back down there, and it already got all that deleveraging out of the system for most of the altcoins that it's just not ready to break out. But I think once it really can break this top arc, we'll see altcoins really outperform, and perhaps it can go back up to again, where it was the top back in 2022, 2021, right? That was the top. So we are looking at some good developments here, and I think the deciding factor is going to be, what is gold going to do, right? Because there's a lot of liquidity left in gold right up here that if it gets rotated out of, guess where that's probably going to go? Into risk on assets. And this is I made a post earlier today on X. This is the only thing that has not been deleveraged at all in 2025. It's the only thing. So would you want to be in this crowded trade right now? And a lot of people say yes, but the majority, if they're saying yes at that point, that's a lot of risk they're taking on, because people don't realize the lower price goes, the better your risk reward, right? The higher price goes, the worse. So why would I want to be buying something at a major resistance zone? Sure, maybe it can go higher. Maybe it can go up to like 46, 5,000, but from 4,000 to 5,000, your percentage is not that big, right? It's not that big at all. And your risk is a lot, because what if it just collapses back to like 3,400, 3,300, or 3,000, right? All this, there's a lot of demand down here. This was a previous supply zone, flip to demand zone. So if we just draw a little box there, price could easily come back and retrace to the low 3,000s and just wreck a lot of people. And this is a very, very crowded trade, in my opinion. And I don't like to be a buyer when something is that massively crowded. And we saw Bitcoin, nobody thought it could go lower, right? Nobody, like everybody's propping it up, all these ETFs, all this blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? They proved that wrong. So why would gold be any different? Because it's a commodity, because it's a precious metal? It doesn't matter, right? It's liquidity. If they want liquidity to roll out of it, it can easily go down, rotate into all these risk on assets, and boom, that would be so much liquidity pumping into these risk on that people don't realize. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like world government is buying it nonstop though, so it's going to go to the moon. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the narrative. There's usually some kind of narrative that's associated with a parabolic bull trend right into very key resistance. And I'm not even saying that gold's going to crash. All gold has to do is just kind of did back in 2020, 2021, 2022. It can just go sideways and do nothing, and that would be rotationary forces, out of gold into other things, and that would probably be healthy actually, because gold is looking quite unhealthy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I don't know. Like if you can follow narratives, but I worry about gold based on the current level. If you're looking at, it's not just at the 2.272, but looking at the 3-month chart here, is extremely bullish. You already knew that this is more or less a delay indicator, but you're also way outside the upper Bollinger Band over here on the 3-month chart. That's not healthy. I worried about things when they're just like on a higher time frame where they're way overextended right into important fit level. And I could be wrong. I mean, things could keep going up a lot higher, which is why I'm not going to stop like short gold. I'm not dumb enough to do that, but it's just look very overextended over here, and I just get a little bit more worried about it. Same thing's happening with silver too, by the way. SLV, it's got way outside the upper Bollinger Band here, right at the previous all-time high zone over here. I think silver is going to do well over time, but if this is like a cup, I think that probably would need to have some kind of handle, a consolidation here to consolidate the big giant move that it just had before further bullish continuation. That could be the rotation that is needed to go into other assets, if you will. So again, I'm not like bearish on it. I think overall it's still bullish, but the time frame of these things just extremely long, and they're hitting some pretty important resistance level, and they were overextended. So there is certainly a lot of different liquidity kind of coming in, potentially. I want to talk about Doge because somebody asked about Doge here just real quick. Just to kind of give you an example in terms of what a meme coin like Doge is doing. First of all, it's kind of remarkable that a meme coin like Doge is holding where it is at right now with a big giant cup over here. You can argue that this is a handle, and I would say that you're probably right. From the top over here going to, let's say, the bottom over here, it was kind of holding the 0.5 here. We'll see how the month closed. Currently is a little bit below it, but guess what? It was kind of just testing the bottom of the monthly Ichimoku cloud, and it's looking like it's holding that just fine after breaking in. And the other thing was, you look at the weekly, the 200-week moving average has been holding. It seemed to be a pretty important level of flip from resistance over here into support, right? I just don't really feel that, even Doge is not really breaking down levels so far, so I'm not really that concerned about it. I don't know what you think about the broader market too. Well, we'll talk about one stock here just real quick, because I think it's important to talk about this. Coinbase. it's bad now, maybe, but it was a lot worse back in April. Like April, it went all the way down to the 140s. Right now in the 240s. This is a higher high and higher low type situation. Is anybody able to tell you where exactly the higher low is going to be? Nobody's going to be able to tell you that. But if you're doing a fib level, if you want to find some kind of level that is holding right now, Matt and I have been really eyeing this level of the zero 0.5 linear fib over here. It looks like it's kind of holding that area. So maybe, who knows? Nobody knows, right? It's a flash crash, but it's still forming a higher low. As far as I'm concerned, if you are bullish on Ethereum, which I think a lot of people are still bullish on Ethereum, if you're bullish on Ethereum, it would be very, very silly. It'd be very, very silly to be bullish on Ethereum and bearish on Coinbase, because they are basically the same chart. Matter of fact, I think that Coinbase is a little bit stronger because it made a little bit of equal low over here. Here, make a little bit lower low, right? Matter of fact, I think actually Coinbase look better than Ethereum. If you look at the weekly, there's also a lot of very similarities that you see over here too. If you just put up the Ichimoku here and here, they're basically just touching the cloud together. They're basically doing the same dance. So I find that if you are, bullish or bearish on one or the other, like, it's kind of silly to do that. Everything is going through deleveraging. Ethereum is going through more deleveraging than we previously had thought that it had to, because it already had a huge deleveraging event back in April, and so did Coin. But hey, guess what? There's still leverage in the system, and I'm going to say, like, I do have a Coin L position. It's not going to, hey, I think they're trying to deleverage me too by causing decay over here, and it's trying to shake me out. I think that's exactly what they're doing, and I think it's fair. That's all I can really say about it. What do you think about the overall market too? Because I find amazing that last week the fear and greed index from the CNN for the overall market was like single digits. It was an extreme fear. When the S&P 500 didn't really look that bad. This is the SPY. Like, what do you like? How do you what? Like,
Wait, for the overall market, it was single digits too?
Yeah. The greed,
Wow.
the fear, that was like 11. But
Yeah.
I think like early in the week, the overall market was like 6 or 9 or something like that. Not just crypto. Like, what?
Yeah, that's weird.
What's going on? Like, it's
Yeah.
not even like it's if you look at like the weekly, like, what is it doing? It's just basically backtesting the 20-week moving average.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? Like, am I missing something? Is it going to plummet all the way down? Like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I got a SPY fib channel that I want to show real quick, and this is a very, very healthy chart. Like, you can see, look at all of 2003, 2004, 2005, 6, 7. That was resistance. Even right here, that 2021 top was resistance, and even 2024 resistance. But guess what? Look what it's doing right now for SPY. This back test right now is just a healthy back test of a previous resistance, major one, multi-decade previous resistance of a fib channel, and it's flipping to a support. So, I mean, take that as you will, but this is proven throughout time that this was a super difficult thing to break, and we're not breaking back below it right now. So could we be at support pretty soon? Maybe 650, right? Maybe low 650s could be that right there. Yeah, 648. Who knows? But that could just mean a tiny bit more of pain before things can get a lot more bullish. But yeah, max fear when things are flipping to a support, and the uptrend is still very, very powerful. So I don't get the bear thesis at the moment. I can relate to it with crypto because it's just been so painful. But with the broader market, this is just a normal period in time. We have experienced this so many times before for a massive multi-month rally and then sure cool off for a few months, right? We've seen this so many times throughout history, so who cares? This is just a normal process. So I don't have the fear for the general market. There is more fear in crypto because it's a lot more volatile, but I think things are setting up for a change of that. There's just waiting for more liquidity, and there's a lot of liquidity, like I said, still trapped in gold. So we'll see how that develops.
Yeah, not just go to also an international market like in Japan, China. It's just even in the large caps too. Like if somebody asks about Palantir, I'm not gonna go too much deeper into it. I did a video for Danny's Patreon, this weekend. Usually talk about Palantir every weekend on his Patreon. I'm just gonna
I think you cut out for a little bit. So
yeah.
no,
I think I
you're good
lost
now.
connection.
Just start over.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting tracker style internet in this room. I don't know why. Yeah, it's contagious. His optimism and his niceness and also his internet connection is very contagious. But anyway, can you hear me okay now? Am I still disappearing?
No, you're fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, somebody asked about Palantir. I'm just going to show here real quick. I usually do like a weekly video for Danny's Patreons. I already talked their ears off, and at this point, I think people are just so scared. I'm not even sure if they're really watching it anymore. But the truth is this: it's just keep breaking levels after levels after levels. It broke even the 4.236 linear fit level, which is like a very big level here. In terms of fibs, it broke that close 2 months above of it. And it would favor further bullish continuation here. But guess what? I guess it's just a little bit too overextended. The market needed a little bit of correction. So it came back down to close to the 3.618 and is holding that just fine. I still think it's like a, back test of a previous breakout level. So there's not really anything that is still too alarming for me. I think that if people are looking at RSI, I have some person like, commenting on my post saying, you're so bullish on Palantir. You cannot be, because look at RSI is like plummeting all the way from the 90s all the way down here to the 60s, and like this is like a crash right here. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make sense. To call a top based on that, because Nvidia like keeps doing that cycle after cycle. It just gets up to RSI like 90s. If anything, if it cools down, that's a good thing. So I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at stuff there. You can have bearish diversions on the way up on a stock like Nvidia and still make higher highs. You can have bearish divergence and you still make higher highs. You can have a plummet all the way down here from like the 140s, 150s to the 80s to cool down RSI, and that you can have a bearish divergence and still make a higher high. So I don't know what that was all about. But I was called disingenuous for still being bullish on Palantir because of the monthly RSI. So yeah, hey, maybe this is something you get scared about. I don't know. Looks like pretty decent to me. If anything, I think we got a little bit of a hidden bullish divergence building up here, where price just going higher and RSI is cooled down significantly with just this big move over here. So yay, that's all I gotta say. Anyway.
Well, we got this beautiful comment right here. The bear market has already started, but you guys are still spewing positive charts. Whoever listens to you guys deserves to lose all their money. Newbies have been led to the slaughterhouse. I mean, that sounds like a very 100%. And we don't ever speak in absolutes. Like the bear market has already started.
Yeah.
Where's your proof? Like we're showing our proof, how it's level by level, and so far levels haven't been broken. So where is your proof of the bear market already started, right? Is it because of your emotions? That's what usually happens, right? So
Well, it's the 50-week moving average that Bitcoin broke underneath. Like that's
uh-oh, you were cutting out a little bit right there. Maybe start over. Yeah, you're still cutting out. Did you borrow Tracker's internet? I'm kind of confused of what's going on there. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh no, cat, we lost you.
oh
Oh yeah, we lost you, but you're back. Sorry, I thought you got abducted by aliens.
I suppose so. No, I don't know what's going. Like, I need to. Yeah. Anyway, I don't have much else to add. I think that if we
Uh-oh. Well, I think Kat is having tracker type problems on the internet here. So, I see. What about XRP? Yeah, XRP is fine, right? While Kat tries to fix his internet, I'll just talk about some XRP developments here, and we'll go to my chart right here, and we'll go to Kat. We'll come back to
well,
you.
yeah, my internet's acting up. If I drop, you just keep talking, okay?
Yeah, okay, I'll switch back to you. I was going to talk about XRP, but I'll finish the show with XRP, but I'll let you finish.
No, I don't have much else. I mean, people being absolutist about it because we've had a big giant crash down. I mean, I think at this point, it's more looking at the reaction and see how it goes. I'm never gonna, be like going on other people's live stream and yell at other people and saying you're too bearish. Like that's never something that we're gonna do. And if they want to do that to us, that's fine. Actually, if anything, it's just part of sharing our thoughts in public, and that's not really going to
Yeah.
shy us from doing that. We were heavily invested in the market in general, and we were well diversified. I would never be all in crypto. I would never do that. But if you're well diversified, you can really try to avoid those rug pulls where they crashed IWM in April and now they're crashing Bitcoin, and you just end up positioning from one thing to another, just trying to avoid it happened. You're going to get chopped up. That's the only thing I do.
Yeah. Yeah, to be absolute is terrible in any market. Like to be absolute 100% bullish, which we are not. We are majority bullish because of the data that we present. But to be absolute bearish is just, in my opinion, is being emotional. And if you're being emotional, you're going to have a bias to the downside. And if you have a bias in any direction, you're going to get wrecked. And as I started off with in the beginning of the show, I said with Bitcoin, I'm going to take it level by level. And if it ever loses that 80,000 zone, then we got a lot more to worry about. So right now we're holding, so it's level by level, right? So I think that's the correct approach to take, because if you just have some kind of bias in any direction, you're going to get wrecked no matter what. But right now, the data is still pointing to a healthy consolidation. People can take the word healthy as they will, right? A lot of people like this is just mass panic and it's not healthy at all. But bear markets don't usually just start with a giant crash at max fear, right? Usually that would, as proven in April, it could be a V-shaped recovery.
I also think that people have crazy expectations for Bitcoin because of how it behaved the two previous cycles. Whenever it just started running, it doesn't touch the 20-month moving average. And whenever it touched the 20-month moving average, it fails to hold, right? Same thing here. Whenever it goes up, it doesn't touch the moving average. And whenever it goes down and touch the 20, it fails to hold. Well, is this time different? Well, you can actually go and pushing up, make it like up, and then go back and back test the 20-month moving average is healthy for a lot of very very high beta equities, including Nvidia. It here is kind of healthy, and then it crashed down and crashed down, right? Same thing here, it crashed down and crashed down. Here, for the first time over the last couple of cycles, it finally touched the 20 and it just made a higher high. In the previous cycles, you can see that it kind of did the same thing. It just kind of climbed the 20. Can you imagine being bearish on Nvidia right there? Can you imagine being bearish on Nvidia right there? I'm not saying that that's what Bitcoin's going to do, okay? But can you imagine being bearish on Nvidia right?
Oh no. And also, Kat, when it comes to the velocity of the last two cycles with Bitcoin, it just basically shot up a lot. So it was a lot more overextended from the 20-month moving average than prior cycles as well. Than this current cycle. So that's why we're kind of like riding it up a little bit closer than the last time. So that's my opinion of that. And I think Kat actually got lost again. Well, Kat's having internet problems, so let's just finish off the show with Matt. Can you make an argument of altcoins? That's what I've been doing this whole time, right? That they're finishing a bear market. I've been doing that the whole time, basically with altcoins, talking about that thesis a lot. So I'm just going to finish the show with, altcoins are basically they're trying to bottom. They're making higher lows, equal lows. So I've been talking about this forever. I showed with others' dominance as well, how price is trying to get more and more bullish, and actually others right here is really trying to hold this 220 zone, 20 billion zone, and also with the Ichimoku monthly cloud, it's still just inside the monthly cloud where it used to be kind of a challenge to get above, but now it's actually trying to ride the cloud as a support. So these are all signs of a potential bottoming process. And to have a bearish bias when nothing is really technically breaking with others, I think that's not correct. But I think Kat is back.
Yeah, don't worry about me. I don't know where I'm going to drop off, so just finish the show, man.
Yeah. But no, I was just saying, like, your 20-month moving average too, the previous cycles for Bitcoin, it really was overextended, right? For Bitcoin, because things went really parabolic, and this cycle things did not go parabolic. So it's normal to just ride the Bollinger Band, or the 20-month moving average as support on the way up, since nothing really went parabolic.
Yeah, this is if this holds, is healthy. If it breaks down, I'm sorry, guys, we're gonna lose all that money. Like that's the reality. But I think that it's just we haven't really had that big parabolic run. Same thing if the risk hasn't really been that significantly elevated. I don't really necessarily think the risk is going to be that significant to the downside. But again, like it's just probability, and I could be wrong. I'm just going to leave it as that.
All right. And the last thing, I'll finish the show off. I see a lot more requests, but we're only going to do an hour show today. But with XRP short, what is XRP doing? Monthly candles. Well, I have a fib from the recent top and the 2022 bottom, because that's kind of like a fib that I've been showing with Ethereum, with Coinbase, with a lot of things from 22 to the recent top. And these fibs are kind of important. So we're going to keep watching this 212 zone and even the monthly baseline here at 202. So nothing is broken. The trend is still alive. All of these previous resistance levels and the bodies of these candles are technically flipping to support still, right? It's a really healthy chart. And I think somebody asked, Kat, why don't you like XRP? I don't
hate it. I think
yeah.
I just like kind of missed the boat, and I don't like to chase. I think right now it's going through a very healthy consolidation period. If I was going to enter, I would, but there's just so many other things to buy. So I don't, I don't think I need to be in everything. It's yeah. I don't have to like all the Spice Girls. Yeah. I mean, it's not, it's.
That's true. Nobody likes them all.
Yeah. Well, I don't have to like all the United States president, but anyway, yeah, go ahead.
But I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. And what I want is XRP to keep holding that baseline, right? 202. That's what I want. And for the chance to continue to the fib extensions above, $7, $10, all of it, it still exists, right? Nothing has deterred this from not getting to those targets in the future. I think it's just a huge breakout, a year-long consolidation through time, sideways, really. Ultimately, it's like a parallel channel, giant bull flag. So if people think this chart is bearish, then no wonder they're buying a Nike or UPS or something, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's basically saying the whole crypto market, I guess, is saying, if you want to be my lover, you have got to give. That's what
That's true.
If anything, if the whole cryptocurrency market just crashes, we lose our money. Friendship never ends. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can just be we can all be frenemies on X forever. But I don't know. I've been playing the game of probabilities for a long time now, and what I see is the probability of a lot of things going lower is better for you. It's not worse, right? Just a lot of people, they buy the excitement. And if you buy the excitement, then you have a long time to wait, or you have a lot of pain to endure. So I like to buy the boring times before the breakout. And yeah, I was buying for years. And actually my very first XRP purchase, I think it was down here in the 20-cent zone back in like 2020. That was my very first one. And then I started buying a lot more around here at this 236 fib. And then, yeah, buy before the breakouts, right? If you do that, then you have all the time in the world. All the time in the world. So with that, great show, Kat. And Luca, same to you out there. Thanks for being a part of
Thanks,
it.
Luca, for putting us together. We appreciate it. Yeah, all right. That I guess that's it between us. Man and Mal. Until
Yeah.
next time, we're gonna get back on when the next crypto crash comes, right?
Yeah. We're only gonna be live when everybody hates us and there's max fear.
Certainly seems like it. I mean, I don't. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
thank you for the hates. We really deserve it. So.
Yeah, we do.